Hey friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the part 2 of I don't know how many parts of my Spain vlog. So here's the deal. We're gonna do something a little bit different today in this vlog. And the reason is, as we went along the trip and we were continuously going with guides and things like that, and the way they do it, I think this is pretty common amongst tours now, is they have what are called whispers, and it's basically, you know, you wear like a headphone, and I'm sure you'll probably see some people in the footage, you know, you can see they're wearing like an earpiece, and you have a transmitter, and the guide has a microphone, and so you're able to hear. I was trying to film and also be able to have it loud enough that you would be able to hear the guide, but unfortunately it wasn't really working out. So what I'm going to do is I am going to sort of walk you through the footage and narrate it as best I can. I do have some notes here because let me just tell you, there was so much information thrown at us, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but if I retained even 1% of that information, I would be amazed. Like, these guides have so much knowledge in their head. I don't even understand how they like remember at all. I realize it's their job and they do it often, but still, it's just the amount, like I said, of information that we were given on these tours was just unreal. So I've done some Googling and I have some sort of synopsises, which hopefully will coincide with the footage as you see it. I don't know if this is gonna work out, but let's give it a try. So after we finished at Toledo, we got back on the bus and we made our way to Cordoba. Now, Cordoba we were kind of moving south from Madrid, and it gets really, really hot there. Our tour guide said, I believe, that it's one of the hottest places in Europe, which I thought was kind of interesting. And it was pretty toasty while we were there. But like many of the cities that we saw in Spain, it has sort of an old city portion of it. And you're going to see here in a second part of the original wall that was around the city, and the guide talking about how the statues that are in different places around the city were a much more contemporary addition. And unfortunately, I didn't get it on film, but what she told us about the statue that you're going to see in this portion, that the sculptor had no idea what the person that he was doing a sculpture of, what that person looked like. So apparently the face he used was from, I think, like a bartender that worked at a restaurant like just inside the old city's walls, which I thought was just a hysterical way to get the likeness of somebody. So for some reason, I didn't get the name of who this statue was. Obviously, she said it before I started filming, but anyway, I just thought that was a pretty funny story, that the face of this particular statue belonged to some random bartender.
From Cordoba to Rome, that was the capital. In Rome, he had a really important education in so many different areas. And as you know, then he became a really famous writer, philosopher, and then he became the professor of the Roman Emperor Nero, right? This statue, it's really modern. We don't have any statues from the 1st century. But in the 60s, the city hall from Cordoba wanted to commemorate with the statues to the most famous citizens from the city of Cordoba. So in the 60s, the city hall established a project to make statues of really important citizens from Cordoba.
So also, like many of the older cities that we went to go see, I mean, obviously all the cities are old, but most of them had Jewish quarters, and obviously being Jewish myself, it was a really interesting thing to see, and we were able to go see some of these original synagogues that were in these various Jewish quarters that we went to in some of the different cities. The synagogue, situated in the heart of the Jewish quarter of Cordoba, is unique in Andalusia and one of the 3 best preserved medieval synagogues in the whole of Spain. According to the inscriptions found in the building, it was built between the years of 1314 and 1315 and was in constant use right up until the Jews were finally expelled from Spain. The wall supporting the women's tribune has 3 arches with exquisite decorative plasterwork. The Jews were expelled in 1492, and afterwards the building was used first as a hospital, then as a hermitage of San Crispin, and finally an infant school. So after making our way through the Jewish quarter, we then went to go see the Mosque of Cordoba. And I have to say, this was probably the most impressive building I have ever seen. Now, I say that, and I hadn't been yet to Barcelona to see the Gaudi church, so we'll save that to then, and I would say maybe that's the most impressive building I've seen now. But up until that time, this building was just unbelievable. It is over 5 acres in size, and it started out, and I'll read some things here as you sort of get to see some of the pictures, but it started out as a mosque, and then it became a church, and then it became a mosque, and then it became a church. It kind of bounced around, and everybody added on to it as it kind of went through time. And anyway, it was fascinating. Our guide for this tour in Cordoba was incredible. Like I said, her knowledge was amazing, but I just really, really enjoyed her. The buildings on this site are as complex as the extraordinarily rich history they illustrate. Historians believe that there had first been a temple to the Roman god Janus on this site. The temple was converted into a church by invading Visigoths, who seized Cordoba in 572. Next, the church was converted into a mosque and then completely rebuilt by the descendants of the exiled Umayyads, the first Islamic dynasty who had originally ruled from their capital Damascus, present-day Syria, from 661 until 750. The building itself was expanded over 200 years. It is comprised of a large hypostyle prayer hall. Hypostyle means filled with columns, which you can see here. A courtyard with a fountain in the middle, an orange grove, a covered walkway circling the courtyard, and a minaret. The expansive prayer hall seems magnified by its repeated geometry. It is built with recycled ancient Roman columns from which sprout a striking combination of 2-tiered symmetrical arches formed of stone and red brick. The horseshoe-style arch was common in the architecture of the Visigoths, the people that ruled this area after the Roman Empire collapsed and before the Umayyads arrived. The horseshoe arch eventually spread across North Africa from Morocco to Egypt and is an easily identified characteristic. The focal point in the prayer hall is this famous horseshoe-arched mihrab or prayer niche. A mihrab is used in a mosque to identify the wall that faces Mecca, the birthplace of Islam in what is now Saudi Arabia. Here, what you're seeing is the prayer space for the actual Catholic church portion of this building. And the ceilings here are even more dramatic and higher than in the rest of the mosque, as you can see. There were people here that were praying, so getting ready for the Corpus Christi celebration that was taking place the next day. It was interesting, they celebrated Corpus Christi over several different days, depending on which city we were in. But this part of the mosque was absolutely unbelievable. The intricacies of the carvings and the marble was just look at the ceiling. It is absolutely incredible. And they have 2 large pipe organs, which they can actually play in synchrony together. And just the whole thing was just a marvel to see. So after we left Cordoba, we moved on to the city of Seville, which is the southernmost point that we were at during our tour. It was extremely hot in Seville. It was close to 100 degrees. We spent 2 nights in Seville. We had one night that was kind of on our own, and then we had one night that we did dinner with the group. I wouldn't say that I loved Seville as much as I probably enjoyed some of the other cities that we went to in Spain, but it was, it was interesting, and I'll walk you through what we saw. The first stop we made on our Seville tour was at the Plaza de España, which was designed by Aníbal González and was the principal building built on the Maria Luisa Park's edge to showcase Spain's industry and technology exhibits. González combined a mix of 1920s Art Deco and Spanish Renaissance's revival, Spanish Baroque revival, and neo-mudéjar styles. The Plaza de España complex is a huge half circle. The buildings are accessible by 4 bridges over the moat, which represent the ancient kingdoms of Spain. Many tiled alcoves were built around the plaza, each representing a different province of Spain. Today, the buildings of the Plaza de España have been renovated and adapted for use as offices for government agencies. Toward the end of the park, the grandest mansions from the fair have been adapted as museums.
Dime, ¿cuántas veces me volviste demente? Ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca.
Our next stop was at Palacio de las Dueñas, and you can see here the courtyard that's in the middle of the palace. This palace currently belongs to the House of Alba. It was built in the late 15th century in the Renaissance style with Gothic and Moorish influences. The palace is one of the major historic homes of great architectural and artistic heritage in the city. From there, we walked through, again, part of the old portion of Seville, and then we basically said goodbye to our guide and had some free time in Seville. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of these different cities were celebrating Corpus Christi on different days. So it was happening on, I think, like a Tuesday or something when we were in Toledo. It was happening on Thursday when we were in Cordoba. It was happening on, I think, Saturday when we were in Seville. I don't understand why it's not a uniform thing, but anyway. So what you're about to see here was thousands and thousands of people gathered in an area of Seville called Santa Cruz, which is where the Cathedral of Saint Mary of the Sea is located. And that is where they carry, I don't even know what to call them, and I don't know that I got footage of it, but they carry this very large, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is, but it's like this large thing that they carry along the streets, and then they bring it into the cathedral in that particular city. So all of these people were here, and this celebration was, at least because this was the only one that we really saw, you'll see there were bands, it was a whole sort of like parade thing. So I will let you watch some of this footage, and then I will give you a little history of the cathedral.
¿Cuántas veces me volviste demente? Ahora sin ti estoy tan solo, no es fácil. Te quiero, baby, hasta que nazca el sol, hasta que nazca el sol.
The cathedral is the 3rd largest church in the world and takes up the equivalent of several city blocks and houses 80 chapels. The construction began in 1401 and continued for over 100 years. So after we kind of made our way through this very large body of people, I would say, for blocks and blocks, my mom and I found an outdoor little cafe. the parade and everything had kind of settled down and, you know, was over. And so a lot of people had left the area, thankfully. So we were able to find a little outside table where we sat and, you know, just had a cool beverage and ate a little something. I don't even remember what we ate at that particular place. And yeah, then we went back to our hotel. Like I said, that particular night we were on our own for dinner. We did go to an Italian restaurant actually, because to be honest with you, we weren't really like digging this typical Spanish food. So I just kind of wanted something different. So like I said, we went to an Italian restaurant. We also did go to, they have a very large, and I'm not going to remember the name, department store chain within Spain. And at least the one that was across from our hotel, the entire bottom floor of the department store was a grocery store, kind of a gourmet, I guess, kind of grocery store. It almost reminded me, I think, of sort of the food grocery area of Harrods, kind of had that kind of thing. So we kind of explored that for a little bit and, you know, walked around. There was another kind of mall that was down a couple blocks further, and we walked down there. I checked out the next day a couple of stores that we don't have. For example, we don't have Massimo Dutti, and there was another store there that we don't have here in the United States. I can't remember what it was. Oh, they had Pull and Bear. I don't think but that definitely was not my style. And like I said, there was another one that I wanted to go to. I didn't end up buying anything. I bought a couple things at Mango, which I think you guys have seen. I bought like a knit vest it's kind of a cream and black stripe, and I bought something else that is completely escaping me. But those were the only two pieces of clothing items that I purchased, and those were both, like I said, purchased in Seville. And yeah, and then the next day it was back on the bus and to head to our next destination. So that is it for part 2 of the Spain vlog. Again, my apologies that I'm kind of having to do this in a little bit of a unique way. Like I said, having gone on a tour now, I kind of know, I think, what to expect, and maybe I'll be able to do a little bit better of a job. To be honest with you, it was super hard to film. I can't do a traditional vlog when I'm on a tour because, like I said, the guide is talking and obviously people are trying to hear the guide. And if I'm talking in the background, trying to talk to you guys, it just doesn't really work out very well. So you'll see as the footage goes on, I really kind of only was able to really kind of talk to the camera when we were in Madrid and had some more one-on-one time. And then you'll see in the end in Barcelona, I've got, more typical vlog footage that you'll see there. So anyway, like I said, that is it for part 2. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. It, helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to see you back here. So click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I upload videos. If you have not had enough of me quite yet, I will have another video popped up over here in the corner for you to watch. And wherever you are, I hope you are having an amazing day or evening. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.